Welcome to the Halley Elise Show, featuring your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise. She is an author, psychic, and media personality, and has been listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America. Empowerment psychic Halley Elise shares the spiritual, metaphysical, holistic, and magical powers of the universe. Follow Halley on her website at HalleyElise.com, and all her shows can be seen via live stream video. Now, here's your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise.
Good evening, everyone. It's funny, I'm watching something go on the screen, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, here we go again with weird techie things, but we're good. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you so much for tuning in or listening in. I have a very special guest today, and as always, whenever I have a guest, I'm excited and delighted because this person is going to impart wisdom, and this is actually a very wise woman. She is, I would say, a spiritual entrepreneur, but she is a spiritual counselor and a master energy healer. But also, she's studied Sufism and teaches peace. And especially with today being Memorial Day, we thought this would be a grand time for her to be on and to share about peace. As well, Enthusia Helena is an author. She has this wonderful book out called So Light, if I'm saying that correctly. Yes?
Yes.
I believe so. And that'll be up on the screen at some point. You'll be able to see it. I'm actually going to cheat and push that up so the next time the camera is there, ta-da! See that? The master technician put it up for us. So that's So Light. But without any further ado, let me introduce Enthusia. I'm so glad you're here tonight.
Thank you, Halley. It's really wonderful to be here. And I wanted to take a moment, because it is Memorial Day, to send my warmest regards and honor for the veterans and their families. And also to my father, who had happened to have passed away many years ago on this day. Just sending out hello. Wow. This is a day of remembrance, Memorial Day. It's remembering those who have worked and given all for our country. But I want to talk about remembrance as our own inner remembrance of the truth of who we really are. That's where everything happens from the inside out. And when we're talking about war, in Sufism, the inner conflict is really the inner war that we have within ourselves. Everybody has that. It's known as the mujahada. And it is our place to be able to purify all those places within ourselves that create conflict, places of old past conditioning, places where we've been wounded and haven't been able to heal those areas, and just places in which we can find peace within ourselves. And when we find that peace within ourselves, we then can extend it more outwardly to others and globally to our planet as well.
So when you're talking about peace within yourself, are you talking about ultimate forgiveness in the same way that you would have unconditional love? You would have unconditional forgiveness for yourself? And if yes, how does Sufism apply?
Yes, actually, I have. That's always been a little bit of something that has bothered me, because I've heard the saying over and over again when people say they've worked on forgiveness. I've heard them say, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Now, I understand that in some sort of way, but when I hear I don't forget, that to me feels like it closes off the heart and creates more of a separation. And so in Sufism, it is a path of the heart, but it is a path of purification. And when we can totally and ultimately purify all the images, all the pictures, all the thoughts that goes with these wounds or past conditionings, I believe that we can ultimately forget as well.
Okay, so that's a big challenge, though, I think, for a lot of people, in the sense that they were kind of taught that you shouldn't forget. You know, it's similar to the idea of if you've done something wrong, if you've made a mistake, you're supposed to remember it so that you don't repeat it. So when you look at that, I think it brings to mind the idea of we are all together. All religions, all spiritual texts teach about there really is nothing separate. And as I was sharing with you yesterday, I was at the de-stressology, I want to say program, but it was really more of a clinic during the day. And that was one of the things that came up, that, we're never really separate. And it's just that perspective. So if you're looking at forgiveness, you're looking at people that have gone to war, you're looking at people that are constantly unhappy and looking for a fight. How does that apply? Or I shouldn't even say how does it apply, but how is it possible that you can shift? How is it possible to let go and not remember what happened? What is it that you need to do?
Well, let's bring that is my whole mission, is to help myself, others, the world, heal what I believe is the core illness or disease in humanity, which is the illusion of separation. Because ultimately we are one. And in quantum physics, it's already been proven how we're all interconnected, and we are all that is, all of us, the same. I wanted to bring up this fact that there actually is a physical aspect in the brain that has been scientifically proven in the 1950s, that is a physical aspect that actually creates the illusion of separation from self and others. And if we can know this and rise be above it,
right,
then we can get far better, closer to this unity and that ultimate forgiveness.
What's really interesting about that is the AMA, the American Medical Association, in the 50s also began to recognize hypnosis, which has to do, as you know, with going beyond that consciousness of every day and being able to go beyond and to be able to recognize that we are more, if you will, in control or empowered than we're led to believe. And again, you're not separate, because if you can tap into that, then you're able to tap into everything. And you have that ability to be free. You have that ability to, if you will, unify and understand old beliefs. I think a big part of that is, where does our brain go, that whole brain function? Most people in the holistic world understand that you have that old stuff in the back of your head that you can release, and I know you know all about that because of your studies and your background. How do you approach that? Let's say and I'm thinking in terms of someone who has never done any work on themselves and they really don't have a clue, but they feel that it's time for them to transmute. How do you suggest that they start to release that old programming that is in the back of their mind?
Well, I want to give you a quick example. For meditators that are seasoned and people that are just beginning, it's really the mental body, the mental energy. And just if you've meditated for a while, you get to a place where you feel quiet and you have stillness. But let's say you're a beginner and you don't meditate, but you're outside in nature and you're looking at the beautiful sky, or maybe sitting by the ocean, or looking at beautiful flowers, or if you're in the mountains, something like that. You do just ultimately, without doing any exercise, come to a very peaceful and quiet place. And that place where we're not thinking, there is no war, there is no conflict.
Right.
It is really the thinking process, the mental energy that creates the inner conflict. So whether you just sit in nature and contemplate and enjoy breathing the fresh air and looking around and become peaceful, or you meditate and come to that still, quiet place, that's a place of non-thinking. And in that non-thinking, there is no war, and there is peace, and there is no conflict.
Thinking about one of my professors when I was studying consciousness and studying hypnosis and all of that, and he used to say it's the space between spaces. It's kind of like that idea of when you're taking a breath, when something is taking place, it's not in that moment, but it's the brief moment in between that you allow yourself to get quiet, that you allow yourself to connect with whatever is creating that peace in your world. And as you said, somebody doesn't have to believe in meditation. They don't even have to believe in a infinite intelligence. Just being in nature, you automatically have a positive response. And that brings me to the idea of cellular memory and how that's affected, because so many people think our physicality is separate from our energy system. They think it's separate from the mind, that the mind is perhaps something, a construct that we've developed, and it really doesn't apply, and it's more about the brain and what the brain is. And they don't recognize that there is that corollary. And that also means that we have cells that have intelligence, and those cells can interact and also be shifted and change based on what's going on. That energetic vibration can enhance what's going on. And really and truly, because you are a healing practitioner, you're able to share how does that work? Because you're looking at cellular memory or cellular intelligence, and if you're doing energy work, how does that apply? How does that actually create peace within the body so that the mind can allow? I know that was loaded.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do want to speak about that, but I did also want to give maybe the beginners a simple example.
Absolutely.
And then get back to that cellular memory, because that's extremely
important. As I said,
important.
I kind of put everything all together there for a moment.
Well, just simply, I mean, even if you're not out in nature, let's say you're having a stressful moment, you're at work, and you want to regain some peace. All you really need to do is take 3 long, deep breaths, inhaling, holding as long as you can, exhaling through your mouth, relaxing. If you do that 3 times, and then at the same time, if you just repeat to yourself silently or even out loud verbally the word love, as you do that breathing, your heart will open. You'll find yourself in a calm place, and then you can start all over again.
It's one of the things that I've often taught my meditation students. You can use the word love, or you can use the word peace, or you can use the word gratefulness, because they're all of the same vibration. They all have to do with creating that calm. And again, it's that corollary between mind, body, and spirit. It seems that today, thankfully, it's not just the yogi masters who are saying, oh, this is how it works. But you have people that are psychologists now that are saying there is such a thing as positive psychology. And you have scientists with quantum physics showing that there is that corollary. And I think it's phenomenal because it's overdue here in the Western world. We look at Eastern practitioners who've been doing this for how long? And it used to be, oh, yeah, that weird little guru thing. And but really and truly, you studied with a yogi, or you went into China somewhere deep within the hills to some ancient little old man with a long beard so that you can learn something. And today, everything is so accessible. But what's really lovely is that the people that are teaching are people that are actually walking their talk. They are taking the time to develop themselves and understand how this works. And as they do that, they're sharing with others. And I think that has so much value. And that breath, and I'm constantly sharing, it literally is that life force. If you are short on breath, you literally are short of life force. If you are stressed, as you know, you are short of life force. So taking a deep breath, thinking something positive, even if they just want to get a pretty image in their mind, that's going to transform what's taking place in the moment.
Yes, instantly. And yes, with Sufism too, we have different divine qualities we use. And each of these different qualities, for instance, salam means peace. So if you know which quality you want to use, it will take you into that frequency by repeating that word.
Can you share a little bit more about that when we get back from break?
Okay.
So hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Thank you.
Bob, did you see Halley Elise in the paper?
Who?
The empowerment psychic, Halley Elise. They did a 2-page write-up. The columnist was enthralled. Halley went right to an issue that she was dealing with. I'm looking at HalleyElise.com right now.
What are you thinking? Should we schedule an appointment?
Matter of fact, yes. You have issues with Sue and me, my business. Take a look at her background. It's impressive, and she has decades of experience.
I want to put it on my iPad. What's her info?
Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise. HalleyElise.com. 561-755-2166.
Spell it.
HalleyElise.com.
So it's HalleyElise.com and 561-755-2166, right?
561-755-2166. That's it.
You're listening to Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise, and she invites you to visit her website for more information about all that she does at HalleyElise.com. Now, back to your host, Empowerment Psychic, Halley Elise.
Hello again. If you're just tuning in this evening, I have the lovely wise woman, Enthusia Helena, with me. She's a spiritual counselor and she is a master energy healer. She's also the author of So Light. And before we took our break, we were discussing something quite interesting. So I'm going to let you dive right in.
Okay, well, I want to talk about Soul Light actually is systems of light therapy. And those qualities that I was talking about in Sufism are actually different frequencies of light. Now, I want to backtrack to what you said before about our cells.
Okay.
Our cells actually speak to each other through light. And when you look at the nucleus, there's an electron and a
neutron.
That floats around. Now, it's that electron that jumps from one cell to another so that it can give you the messages. And when it jumps from one cell to another, it creates a spark of light called a photon. So that's the reason why we use these different qualities of light, that actually to the color that comes with the light is a different variant frequency. And then the sound that comes is the sacred sound. So in Sufism, they use the sacred words of, like I said, salam, or we could say wakil, which is trust. So then you're actually reaching for that light that has a color or a frequency vibration to it, and you're adding the sound, which is sacred, and that helps transmute and helps heal, helps forgive, helps bring more awakening and awareness. Ultimately, we want to heal the illusion of separation and come into the knowingness of oneness. And it is an inside-out job. It's an individual basis. We must do it ourselves first and then share it with others.
And I'm just thinking as far as light and sound and color, and so that our listeners and viewers can understand, if you think in terms of color therapy, you're aware that a color can have a certain impact on you. If you think in terms of sound therapy, it has a certain impact on you. Light itself is holding all of those colors. It is holding all of those sounds. And just think of it as rays of light. Each ray, think rainbow. I think that might be the best way to illustrate for somebody. Each strand, each beam, if you will, of the rainbow has a certain vibration to it. And if you connect with that vibration, similar in the same way that, you folks are familiar with chakras, you are going to have an instantaneous connection. There is going to be a result. And if you do it with intention, like your book suggests, that you're focusing specifically on those, I'm going to use the word therapies, even though that may not be apropos, but it does have a therapeutic effect.
Yes, it does.
So when you specifically focus on those things, you have a specific outcome. It is not like, oh, maybe it'll happen, maybe not, because you are directly connecting. I know that one of the programs I sat in that you had done was marvelous in respect to teaching people about how their brain functions and what the connection is with the light, as well as the electrical currents that run through our system and where it is in the universe. And then you were able to share some of the chants from Sufism, which was beautiful, because everybody then was kind of like, la, 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 just kind of spaced out. You could tell that they shifted into a different space where they were peaceful and they were content and all was well. Matter of fact, you have a couple of programs coming up, yes? So you want to share with everybody when they are and what's going on?
Yes, I do teach color and light and sound therapy, and am an expert on the spine because I work with craniosacral therapy as well. I have a small workshop on color puncture coming up. I'd like to do that in smaller groups so that I can give hands-on personal attention. That is going to be on Sunday, June 12th.
Awesome.
And then on Tuesday that week, on June 14th, I'll be speaking in front of the American Holistic Nurses Association.
Wow, that's a nice coup.
Yeah, that's at Imperial Point Hospital. And that is actually open to the general public. So if anybody wants to look into that.
Do you have this information on your website?
There's a flyer that's going to be coming out, and it will be posted on Facebook. And
Okay, so on Facebook, because I want people to be able to find you.
Yes. Enthusia Helena is my profile page.
Okay.
And then Soul Light Enthusia Helena is my business page. But they pretty much will do mostly the same thing.
Okay, so in the event that they don't remember your full name, they can just go to So Light and they will be able to find you, especially since they saw what the cover looked like.
Yes.
Now, your site itself, what's the name of the website?
Yes, www.soullight.com. What you have to remember is there are two L's there. It's SOLLITE. It started off as Systems of Light Therapy, which is still useful, but it also is soul, meaning the sun or light, or your own individual soul, SOUL, light. And the mission is to heal the intention, the illusion of separation, to allow conscious awakening, and to bring in all these different qualities of vibrational medicine.
Okay. When you talk of vibrational medicine, do you think that the focus starts in the mind? Do you think it starts with the physical? Where does it begin?
In vibrational medicine, the focus, well, we want to really clear the mental energy in the mind.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it really starts in the mind. I use different various modalities in traditional Chinese medicine. Medical Qigong actually is the energetic form of the traditional Chinese medicine, and it works with color, light, and sound, as well as movement. When we're talking about the mind, though, that area in the midbrain is called the amygdala. That's where the limbic brain system is, and that is where the illusion of separation actually is in the physical aspects. So during that workshop that you were in, we brought in just certain qualities of the Sufi qualities to bring light into that midbrain area. It's right behind the optic nerves, right behind your eyes. Yogis look at it more as the third eye, but it is in the middle of the head, in the middle of the brain. So we brought in a Noor. Noor is light in Sufism. It is the first light of creation. So it's a very powerful frequency of light.
It's interesting because different cultures believe that there are different sounds. Like, for instance, Sufism says anur. In certain cultures, it's ah. In other cultures, you hear different sounds, aho, for instance, in Native American, which you're familiar with. And it's just that complement. It seems that there is this wonderful crossover with different spiritual beliefs as well as modalities all merging together. I think we live really in a very exciting time because it's not separate anymore. Even if you have somebody who's, let's say, a strict Buddhist or a strict Jewish person or a strict Catholic person, they're starting to look and say, well, wait, I see that. That kind of makes sense. Maybe I can use that. Or, okay, well, I don't want to go against my belief system and my religion, but maybe I'll try and see how that makes me feel. So there's definitely a lot more openness. And I think truly our awareness, not just as far as consciousness, but how our brain wakes up, is becoming faster.
Oh, yes, everything has speeded up. And yes, I have a doctorate in divinity, and I did my dissertation on comparative religions. I chose the medical, the metaphysical versions of those religious aspects, focused on Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, and Sufism. And they all have similarities, and they're all looking for peace and oneness. And in Hinduism or the yogis, and also in Sufism, it really is all about unity. There isn't any difference. We're all saying the same thing.
Well, that's it. And I think you and I have that in common, that for years we've been saying the message may be delivered differently.
Yes.
But the value of the message, the content, it's the same. It has the same end result. There's that message of bringing people together, of honoring one another. There's a reason that way back when religion said we were brothers and sisters, so we're all connected because we started from the same source. And it doesn't matter the name, it's a matter of you recognizing that connectedness. And when you go into meditation, when you use those qualities that you're talking about, amazing things happen.
Or the sounds. I mean, we
Yes.
also use the sound ah,
Right.
and awe actually opens up the heart. And many other versions that we're talking about, spirituality, uses that sound as well. And Hu, has been well known. It is the divine aspect. It is the name of God. So humanity is Hu. We
Right.
are spiritual beings, manity, having a human experience.
And I think we need to remember that when we have conflict and we think, is this ever going to end? And why is life so difficult? And why can't we move beyond? It's a human experience. And
Yes.
so many people struggle with that because they don't want to be in that experience in that moment. And I think if you could have just a brief moment of awareness that this is what you chose, which I know people go, what? That's nuts. I would never choose this. And yet in that spiritual form, in that soul form, you were looking for that experience because every experience expands not only the individual, but the mass consciousness, the consciousness of the universe.
But there is only one energy, and I know people
Yes.
don't want to talk about the darkness and the hurt. But darkness is one energy. It's the same as light.
Yes, and we just have to be aware. Thank you so much for being on. I can't
thank
believe
you.
time has flown. Real quick, Enthusia Helena can be found on Facebook. If for some reason you go blank, contact me. The book is so light and it's wonderful. Take a look at what light can really do for you and check out Sufism. It really is something that is easy to manage, to learn, and to transform with. Have a beautiful day again. Happy Memorial Day. Enthusia, thank you so much for being on. I'm
Thank
glad you
you.
could be here. Good night, everyone.
Be enchanted and delighted. Connect each week here on WNN for the Halley Elise Show. Also on Facebook and at HalleyElise.com. Thanks for tuning in.